So when you think of Nevada, you think of gambling. What place do you immediately think of? Well, I bet most of you were thinking Las Vegas. But there is also another place that's considered a bit of a gambling capital, and that is Reno, Nevada. So what brings me here? Well, it's difficult for somebody who's involved in gambling not to check out a town that has a big part of its history on gambling as well. But also, I've read loads of books from people like Ed Thorpe. I also read a book called The Newtonian Casino, where they plied their trade all around here. So, just curiosity overwhelms me to come here and actually have a look and see what it's all about. But also, I'm really interested to see what they do with their sports betting side of things as well, because it's very different over here from the rest of the world. And also, they're quite anti-online stuff as well. So there was a casino along here somewhere, I can't remember which one it is off the top of my head, that was fined for linking to an online sportsbook. So yeah, I want to check out and see what the sportsbooks are like, how they're run inside the casinos. You may find an opportunity, probably not, but I think just out of curiosity it's worth having a look at how they do sports betting over here. So here's a little bit of history about Reno for you. It was founded during the gold rush era, as a lot of towns were in California and Nevada. And a disillusioned gold worker, gold miner, or speculator, however you want to call him, was coming back across from California and from the mountains, realized that people needed to cross the Truckee River, which is just behind me here, and built a toll bridge. And that was pretty much the start of Reno, Nevada. Now from there, he built an inn and the town started to develop from there. And one of the things you realise around this area is that it's quite remote. There isn't much around here, especially, you've got the mountains in one direction and desert, north, south, east and west. And as a consequence, you tend to find that it's a sort of place that people would probably stop on a longer journey. So it began to establish itself a little bit further from there. Now, when the state of Nevada legalized gambling, Reno stepped up to the plate. I mean, you're a town in the middle of nowhere, you need to attract people in, and gambling was illegal in California. So Reno saw the opportunity, it's right on the border, very near to California, to get a bit of custom over the border, as it were. And they set up a number of casinos when gambling was legalized. And that's sort of how Reno made its name around that particular era, because people would travel in from across the state line and come here to have a little bit of a gamble. So when you visit all of these casinos, they're fairly similar in terms of the structure, plenty of bars. I was surprised to find that you can actually smoke in Nevada. I wasn't aware of that, so that was a bit of a surprise to me. But there are also plenty of other surprises in the casinos as well. So you're trying to make a decision on how you would like to place a bet. What's the best way to do it? Well, have a few beers and then place a bet from there. So remarkably, when you look at these casinos, you can actually find gambling machines placed right on the bar to tempt you when you're having a beer. Away from the bar, you have a more traditional casino with gaming tables that you'd expect to find. But one of the things I didn't expect to find was the prevalence of William Hill. There are a significant number of William Hill outlets in and around Reno, and particularly, as later research would provide, in Nevada itself. So yeah, obviously geared around the sports book, but they had a very significant presence. And if you've never seen a traditional sports book in the US, this is what it looks like, not like your typical bookmakers back at home. Large screens, desks, and plenty of information scattered around all over the place, all with the desire to tempt you into a bet. But all of the slips you'd pick up basically from the William Hill counter, and then you'd get the odds displayed on a large screen. You may think that's familiar with the UK, but of course in the US you get them next to a bar. So yeah, large screen with all of the sporting action on, all of the odds, and then you pick up a coupon and go and place your bet, much in the same manner you would with a traditional bookmaker in the UK. So outside there wasn't much in the way of shopping. However, it was very interesting to see that they had conveniently placed a pawnbroker. When you look at most of these casinos from the outside, it's of stark contrast to what you find on the inside. From the outside, a lot of these casinos really look pretty bland. There's not an awful lot going on. And you tend to find that the casino has a lot of activity on the lower floor, and then as you go up through several different tiers, there are different forms of entertainment available to you. So yeah, very different when you look from the outside in. Here we're looking at downtown Reno, and the interesting thing to note here is as we pan across, you can see what looks like a variety of shops and apartments, but ultimately this is all one giant casino. They're themed individually into individual different types of casinos, but you can actually walk through on the top floor between individual casinos into different themed areas. So I thought I'd move out of downtown and go to Peppermills. This is something that was recommended to me. This looks a bit more sort of Vegas-y style in terms of being a huge hotel, a spa and a casino. So let's go inside and have a look. So Peppermill is very similar to all of the large casinos that you're probably familiar with in places like Vegas. Very, very large floors, absolutely stuffed full of gaming machines left, right and centre. And it's always something I've struggled with because gaming machines I struggle to see the appeal of, really. However, when you go into those casinos, they also have traditional games areas such as poker and blackjack, but also very large restaurants, so that if you wanted to do something other than sit on a gaming machine, you can do that. But the interesting thing is the dominance of gaming machines in these style of casinos. However, the thing I was really interested in was having a look at the sportsbook, and Peppermill had a very large sportsbook area. So there's plenty of information available for people who are wagering at these sports books, but there's nothing particularly interesting. You can scan a QR code and look at some more form in greater depth, but a lot of these things are printed out on the individual day. I wondered whether there was an opportunity with the odds that were being printed out to exploit some sort of form of arbitrage, but the fact is the overrounds were so large that wasn't really a distinct possibility. But yeah, it was interesting to spend a bit of time here having a look at the markets from this perspective. So I'm hoping you can hear me, but it feels really weird sitting here knowing that these people are the other people on the other side of the bed. It's really weird. You come to places like this, you see lots of people gambling, and for me gambling is about skill and judgment and you against others, and if your skill and judgment is better than that, then you would expect to earn money over a period of time, which is exactly what I've done for the last 2 decades, and I get a lot of pleasure out of that. I get a lot of pleasure of trying to solve those unsolvable problems and trying to really get to grips with how I can overcome those issues and also do it better than anybody else. I get a real sense of achievement out of doing that. If I sat on a blackjack table, I would probably enjoy that here because, there is a demonstrable chance I could win. It's me against the dealer. Okay, the odds aren't fantastic, but there's a potential win there. So I'd probably enjoy that. I'd probably even enjoy sitting at a roulette wheel. I know that I would lose money, but if I had some friends there and we're having a drink and a laugh, I would probably enjoy that. I'd be willing to pay for that experience. But when you look at these machines down here, these slot machines, these video games, and variants thereof that we see here, I mean, these are just out and out money losers. Wouldn't gain any pleasure from sitting down on there. I tried to do it earlier and I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I couldn't even put $1 in any of these machines because I just thought this is pointless. I don't understand why anybody would do this. And yet, when I was walking the floor, I saw somebody here that was playing 2 at the same time and I wanted to jump in and just say, stop. You're going to lose money twice as fast. What are you doing? Are you stupid? The more you play them and the longer you play them, the more money you're going to lose. And if you're having a bit of alcohol and you're being sort of encouraged, for want of a better word, to sit down for longer, then it's just a one-way street, and I don't understand or get pleasure, or understand how people get pleasure. They obviously do, otherwise they wouldn't do it. But for me, I think gambling has always been a case of a game of skill, and trying to beat your opponent and being better than your opponent, and that's where you're going to get your edge. That's what I enjoy. I don't enjoy just throwing money away for the sake of it. So yeah, not for me. But maybe I'll sit down at some of the tables, and having previously learnt many moons ago how to card count, I could probably pick up a couple of decent opportunities on some of the tables. But then again, you know, you still can't win over the long term. But I would actually enjoy the challenge of sitting at the table and trying to do the best that I can. So as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, Reno was one of the first places in Nevada to legalize gaming and gambling of all sorts. But obviously over time that sort of declined, because not only did you have Vegas rise to prominence, but you also have Indian reservations and other areas where gambling can take place. So, you know, it sort of went on the decline a little bit. But when you come to places like Peppermill, these are much more like the sort of places that you're likely to see in Vegas. Downtown Reno is a bit old-fashioned. It feels a bit dated to me, but Peppermill feels very much like a Vegas-style casino. But also there are other benefits to Reno as well. So, you know, if you go to Vegas, you can go to the Grand Canyon, but if you go to Reno, you can go to Lake Tahoe and the mountains that surround here. So great for winter sports, or in the summer you can go hiking. I've been up to Lake Tahoe. I've done a tour around the lake. I've done a bit of hiking, been down to the lake, up a few mountains, and just did all of those sort of things. And in the winter, obviously, you can go skiing and snowboarding and stuff, and there seem to be an almost infinite number of ski runs around Lake Tahoe. So, you know, while Reno may not be Vegas, in Vegas you go down a giant hole in the ground, the Grand Canyon, but in Reno you can go up some spectacular mountains above a spectacular lake. So I think, you know, Reno does have its benefits. It may not be as big as Vegas now, but certainly for people in California or a little bit further north than Vegas, I think it's a suitable alternative, especially if you're into winter sports, or you're into hiking, or you fancy going up some mountains, or going on the lake. The lake is big, spectacular, and I think, you know, you could probably get the benefit of doing that and nipping down to Reno, or coming into Reno and going up and doing that. So a little bit different from Vegas, maybe not quite as spectacular, but things like Peppermill are very similar and very familiar with people who've been to Vegas in terms of the sort of casinos that you're likely to see there. So yeah, that is Reno, Nevada.